Okay, so in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I rebuilt my personal brand site entirely using 100% AI tools, without a developer, without a designer, with zero coding skills, while saving me thousands of dollars. So about a month or so ago, I decided that I wanted to completely rebuild my personal brand site, charlestravers.com. Before I had basically a website built in WordPress, pretty basic one-page carousel website. This was it here. And the problem I was finding was every time I wanted to make, even the smallest of changes, I would usually have to hire my web developer or designer to make those changes. So over time, when I looked at how much it was costing me over the year, for a site that I wasn't really using that much and wasn't promoting, it just didn't really make much sense to me. So I started to ask myself the question, is WordPress the best platform out there? And the answer was no. I looked at some other kind of similar platforms like WordPress, but I actually ended up deciding that I would rebuild my entire website using AI tools. And kind of fast forward to the present day, and this is what I built, completely using AI. Everything from the design, development, and the copy has been basically helped me to create this website. So there's a lot more, in my opinion, there's just a lot more functionality, and it far better showcases what I do as an SEO consultant. So we've got everything here as well as like the blog, pulls through videos from a podcast that I do with a friend of mine, Jimmy. Shout out to Jimmy. And I also have included here, I built this e-commerce agency directory of trusted e-commerce marketing agencies and freelancers, where you can go through and you can basically filter and look for different experts that you're looking for to grow your e-commerce business. So this was, like I said, built completely using AI. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and break down for you what tools I used, some pros and cons, the types of websites I think this is suitable for and not suitable for. And then hopefully that gives you a full picture of whether you think your website would be the right fit to either rebuild in AI or you want to create a brand new website using AI. And this is for someone that's got, completely zero coding skills. I have never written a line of code in my life. This is purely from just creating written prompts like you would use in things like ChatGPT. This is how you build this type of website, okay? So it's very different to what has previously been out there. And the tools are certainly getting better. So let's go through things in a bit more detail. So what tools am I using? So the main one for actually building and designing the site is bolt.new. I'm on the $20 a month subscription. It is worth noting though that as I was building it, and every time that you're prompting the platform, you have a certain amount of tokens that you get as a threshold. And once you hit that limit, then it will basically push you to go to the higher tier. So actually, by the time I finished the website, I was on the $100 a month tier. But having said that, now that the site's complete and I'm not making a lot of changes on a monthly basis, I can actually reduce that subscription probably down to the free version if I wanted to. So that's just something to bear in mind. For the copy, I was using Claude. I really like Claude for copy. And again, I'm on the $20 a month subscription. And for the web hosting, I actually switched from SiteGround, which I was paying around $30 a month for, to Netlify, which is basically the hosting platform which bolt.new recommends, mainly because it works well with reactive JavaScript websites, which Bolt.new creates. So I thought, well, it's free hosting platform, save myself $30. Why not? So that's something that I would probably recommend doing, unless you're kind of set in your ways and you want to stick with your current hosting provider. You can equally use them as well. So should I rebuild my site using AI? That's the question. Basically, what I would say is there's certain sites that are more suitable to build a site in AI versus sites that are not. So really the sites that are more suitable are any sites that have relatively basic functionality, which you're not going to be updating that regularly. So personal brand sites, if you've got a consultancy business, you're a freelancer that wants to just show your portfolio of work and the results that you get for your clients. Maybe you have a B2B or a B2C service-based business and you just want to build a service-based website with service pages, a contact page. Maybe you want to integrate that with your Calendly form. Relatively basic functionality. I'd say using something like Bolt.new would be perfect. On the flip side, if you've got a more complex business and website, like an e-commerce store, maybe you're a SaaS platform and you've got you need customers and users to log in. Maybe you're an online education platform. Any business and website that's more complex, that really needs a CMS where multiple people can actually access and log in, I would say using something like Bolt.new to build your site in is probably not the right fit. Then before we kind of go through some pros and cons, one thing I would say is just know your strengths. So not everyone has got a good eye for design. So, if you are considering doing it and rebuilding your site using something like Bolt.new, just know that, know your strengths, know whether you're good at design or not, or you've got a good eye for design is going to be important. And if you don't, I'd probably recommend either getting someone else to help you with the design aspect of it, or at the very least running it past a web developer and designer who's going to, give you an honest opinion on whether what you produced is any good. And then the second point is you need to have the ability to prompt effectively. So, if you just say to Bolt.new, build me a new website, you're going to get a very basic output. You need to be very specific when you're prompting the site what it is that you want to produce. So the more detail that you can give it, the better quality output you're going to get. So going through some pros and cons of building a site using AI. So the pros are it's super fast to execute and bring to market. I mean, I was able to, from start to finish, completely rebuild the site and bring it to market in under two weeks, which for anyone that's worked in a corporate environment or worked with clients, sometimes websites can take 6 to 12 months to actually get live from idea to execution, and realistically, I could have probably got it done within 4 or 5 days. I had the majority of the site built within the first 3 to 4 days. So it just depends on how quick you want to get it live and how much time you want to spend to get it, to bring it to market, basically. The second pro would be low monthly costs. You don't have to spend any money on developers and designers. You can make any changes in the future yourself just by prompting the platform. You can save a web hosting as well if you use Netlify rather than your own hosting platform. You've got zero back and forth with developers and designers, so there's no kind of hold up time. You're not having to explain to them what you want. You just it's going to give you the output that you require. High quality finish, as you can see from my site. You know, I might be a bit biased, but I've actually showed it to a number of different marketers and a few web developers and designers, and they've been very impressed with the output. Perfect for small businesses that want simple functionality, as I mentioned before. Easy to add tracking without a developer. So all you need to do, say you want to just integrate your Google Analytics, you would just, in the past, you would have to typically, I mean, I would give that to my developer to then install into the head code of the website. And I often didn't want to play around with the code unless I was using a plugin. I didn't want to play around with that because sometimes that causes issues with the actual front end design. And then you get error messages. Whereas with this, you literally just say, you know, please upload or please upload this Google Analytics code, and it will do it for you instantly. And then finally, the main pros, it's super fast load time. So you've got no code bloat or unnecessary plugins like you would with WordPress, which would be slowing the site down. So that's another major advantage. And, you know, site speed is a ranking signal to Google in itself. So the faster your site loads, you know, that can actually help your site rank higher up on Google as well, which is a real positive. So let's kind of go over some cons. There's no CMS. So you haven't got an area or a dashboard where you can actually log in and then make any changes. There's no plugins that you can install for extra functionality. So that's kind of, for some people, that could be a bit of a drawback. I wouldn't say it's suitable for kind of big teams or websites. I kind of touched upon that in terms of who it's suitable for. Because really there's just, you're logging on to this. So you're just typing in, and then you're going to get a dashboard pop up, which is going to show the website. So to have multiple people using that, for me, I don't think that would work. I also mentioned this before, token usage runs out fast, so you can quickly incur extra cost. So you just have to be conscious of that. But like I said, once the website's live, and if you're not making many alterations every single month, you can be on a very low plan, even the free plan, and you'll probably be all right. One of the most frustrating things you'll often get, you can get some random error messages. That was the one thing that used to drive me mad when I was trying to build a site is, you'd ask it for certain functionality or can you change this? And then you get an error message and it would try and fix the error, but sometimes you would just hit a stumbling block. And if you're not a developer like I am, you just don't know how to prompt it to fix that error. So that's one potential issue that you might come across. The great thing is you can click like an undo button, so it will take you back to the previous update. So there is some kind of positive aspects to that. And then the other main issue that I'm having even right now is uploading blogs. So, I was trying to upload a blog the other day and I would just literally paste in the copy. I'd tell it what the title is, what the kind of the SEO metadata is for that blog post. And I was basically, the platform was creating a completely different design to what I originally had. And for whatever reason, it was taking me forever to fix. I do know that there is a way that you can integrate a CMS blog platform specifically just for the blog section of your AI website. And that's something that I am looking into. So perhaps I'll do a follow-up video explaining how I was able to do that. But for now, that was probably the main issue that I'm finding is being up, if you want to make and publish regular blogs, you might come into some issues there. Just a few things, if you are going to go down this route of building an AI site, is make sure that you have some, pre-launch migration checks. So making sure that you have tracking set up correctly and you've given the AI tool exactly what pieces of code that it needs to be able to track those platforms. Make sure that you have your corporate email still working. So just figuring out the DNS records. Again, pretty straightforward. But if you're not technically minded, that you may need to get some additional support here. Making sure you have SEO elements on the page. Again, if you're not from an SEO background, you may not be familiar with these type of things. But if your website is already ranking well, you need to make, when you rebuild with AI, that you have the right SEO elements on the page and also effectively integrated on the back end. So your meta title, description, schema markup is another element which is important to make sure that search engines can actually rank your website. And then making sure all pages are showing up correctly, any integrations are working correctly, like any integrations with a Calendly form. I did that with my own website, and also pulling through maybe YouTube videos. So just doing a complete rundown before you actually start linking it up with your hosting, which I would suggest, or you're using another hosting provider. So a couple of recommendations that I would suggest. So for me, like when it comes to actual site migrations and going into the technicalities of it, I am not the most skilled, and I would say most people aren't that familiar with how to do this. So I would actually recommend hiring someone to actually complete that migration for you. I would any competent web developer will be able to help you with that. And if you do need someone, actually, I was able to hire someone on Upwork that I was able to do it for me. Highly recommend. So if you want his contact details, feel free to just connect with me on Facebook or Instagram. Send me a message and I'll shoot over his contact details for you. And one other thing I would say is get some feedback from a good web developer and designer, because they're going to spot mistakes and improvements that you probably wouldn't have thought of. I was able to do that with a trusted kind of Shopify web developer and designer that I know. And he gave me some really good advice, which I was able to execute myself, which is great. So those are a couple of recommendations there. And then finally, other use cases. So say, for example, you decided, actually, I don't want to rebuild my site using AI entirely. I like the way my site is at the moment. Or actually, I just want to stick with WordPress, or maybe I have a Shopify store, so it's not going to be suitable for me. What you can do is use bolt.new for other use cases. So a few things that I've got down here, which I think would be good, is any simple SaaS tools that you want to build for your business, maybe a calculator page, any kind of interactive tools that you can effectively build a page and integrate onto your website. So you could still have, like, for example, a WordPress website, but you could have a page that your website links to, which is built on bolt.new. So you've kind of got a combination of AI and also normal website platform. Landing pages for ads, you may want to experiment with that. You might not want to wait around for your a web developer or designer to build a landing page, and you just want to test it out yourself quickly. I think bolt.new would do a good job there. Interactive proposal page templates. So maybe you're an agency business and you want to build out a really nice interactive proposal page that you can effectively link on your website and send to potential clients. Again, I think Bolt would be good for that. And then building out any directory. So, for example, I built out my own e-commerce marketing agency directory here, where you can effectively go through, and if you're looking for any marketing talent to help grow your e-commerce store, I built this. So you can kind of filter down by different people here. And this was built, again, using Bolt.new, entirely using AI. So yeah, those are some use cases there. If you're considering rebuilding your site using AI, hopefully this video is giving you some pointers and some information to go on. And if you are actually going to build your site out and rebuild it or build a brand new site, I would love to hear about it. So feel free to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram, or even just drop a comment below this video. Yeah, share with me your plans, or once the site is live, it would be great to see it. Anyway, until next time, speak to you soon.